aboard the Lane train. Lane Kiffin is back in the SEC as a head coach, but will he stick around this time and try to rebuild an Ole Miss program that hasn't gone bowling since 2015? Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, the best kept secret in all of college football. Today, bringing you our Ole Miss Rebels college football predictions. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also check out everything down in the description below, where you can visit our official website, thegridironexpert.com, to gain access to our weekly newsletter and our exclusive expert picks. And also follow us on social media over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Ole Miss went a disappointing 4-8 in 2019. That included 5 one-possession losses. You can't help but wonder what could have been for Ole Miss, and had they won just a few of those games, would Matt Luke still be here after going just 15-21 in 3 years as head coach of the Rebels? But the administration had seen enough, and they went out and got themselves a big name. One of the most polarizing figures in all of college football, Lane Kiffin, who was 62-34 as a head coach during stops at Tennessee for 1 year, USC, and Florida Atlantic most recently, where he had 2 11-win seasons in just 3 years with the Owls. So he comes in, back in the SEC. Keep in mind, he was also offensive coordinator at Alabama for a little bit under Nick Saban. So many years ago, when he coached at USC and Tennessee, many questioned his maturity. Was he cut out for this? Was he cut out for a big-name program? And many believe the stops at Alabama and Florida Atlantic humbled him a little bit, made him mature a little bit, and now he is ready to take over an Ole Miss program that is ready to get back to elite level that Hugh Freeze had them at just a few years ago. We take a look at their offense, guys, their whole roster across the board, and the roster offensively is set up perfectly for a Lane Kiffin offense. 6 returning starters led by their quarterback John Rhys Plumlee, who was the leading rusher for the Rebels last year with 1,023 yards and 12 touchdowns. That's fantastic. Fantastic that they've got a mobile quarterback, can really utilize an RPO offense there. But the kicker for Lane Kiffin is he needs John Rhys Plumlee to be more accurate as a passer. He only completed 52.7% of his passes in 2019. And Ole Miss is looking to get more balance. They had the 9th-ranked run offense in the entire country last year, but they had the 102nd passing offense in the entire country last year, averaging just 194 passing yards per game. That has to improve. The running game will remain strong with Plumlee and Jerrion Ealy, who had 722 yards and 6.9 yards per carry at running back last year. The passing game can improve because they have a great wide receiver in Elijah Moore, who had 850 yards and 6 touchdowns, but it's going to come down to whether or not Kiffin uses Plumlee solely as a runner or whether he goes all in with him trying to improve his passing game as well. Defensively, Ole Miss returned 6, and this is the side of the ball that has to improve if the Rebels want to start contending in the SEC and try to get themselves to a bowl game for the first time since 2015. Kiffin hired former Maryland head coach DJ Durkin to come in as the co-defensive coordinator. They've got a guy named Sam Williams leading that defensive line, and you've got Lakia Henry and Jaquez Jones leading the defense as well, the top 2 tacklers from last season. The only key for Ole Miss also remains in the passing game. The secondary's got to improve, as they were the 120th ranked passing defense in the country, allowing over 275 passing yards per game. So the work is certainly cut out for Lane Kiffin and the Rebels, without a doubt. It's not going to be an easy task, and 4 of their first 5 games are absolutely brutal for a first-year head coach. But I do have faith that Kiffin is the right man for the job, and that he can get them back to a bowl game this year, and that in a few years, he can have Ole Miss contending once again towards the top of the SEC West. They kick off 2020 here, guys, with a neutral site game against Baylor. 2 brand new head coaches going at it. A great offensive mind in Lane Kiffin, going up against a defensive mind in Dave Aranda, the former LSU defensive coordinator. Was the defensive coordinator last year when LSU won the national championship. The key storyline to watch here is not the fact that you've got 2 brand new head coaches, but it's also that Dave Aranda's LSU defense last year allowed 212 rushing yards to John Rhys Plumlee. So the LSU defense allowed John Rhys Plumlee to run all over them, yet LSU still won by 21 points. But another key storyline to look at here is not only can Baylor stop Ole Miss in their run game, but can Ole Miss stop Baylor in the passing game? Because Baylor certainly owns the quarterback edge, bringing in one of the most experienced QBs in the country in Charlie Brewer, and 8 offensive starters returning on that side of the ball for the Bears as well. I like Dave Aranda's squad just a little bit better in this game in Houston. I think they make just enough stops defensively, and I think Ole Miss struggles to shut down this Baylor passing attack, who still can be one of the better offenses in the Big 12. Baylor opens up the season with a huge win for Dave Aranda, and Lane Kiffin and the Rebels drop to 0-1 in a game that I really view as a 50-50 game. They get a win over Southeast Missouri State. No need to talk about that one. Before coming back home, or remaining at home, I should say, to take on Auburn, a team they only lost to 20-14 last year. So they went on the road to Auburn and only lost to the Tigers by 6. But here's another key storyline. I mentioned how bad Ole Miss's passing defense was, 120th in the country last year. Last year, Bo Nix put up a career high. He's only a freshman last year, keep in mind. So a career high, 340 passing yards against this Ole Miss defense. They only won by 6. Now Bo Nix is a year older. He's got an extra year of experience. He returns basically his entire wide receiver core, and they have a brand new offensive coordinator in Chad Morris. I like Auburn's offense to have a big day here in a game that could be a shootout in Oxford. I think it's the Tigers that just have the slight advantage. They get the win over the Rebels, and LSU also gets a win over the Rebels as well. Once again, LSU, a team that defeated Ole Miss by 21 points last year. And with the way that Ole Miss put up their numbers offensively, under normal circumstances, it probably would have been a close game in Oxford. The Ole Miss defense was just non-existent. If Ole Miss had just had a little bit better of a defense, just mediocre, I should say, maybe they would have had a chance to upset the Tigers. But we know LSU is going to take a step back across the board, but with the game being in Death Valley, and with Miles Brennan, I think, living up to the hype, Jamar Chase, Terrence Marshall, and a defense that has a very elite secondary, I just don't see Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin having enough to go on the road and take down Ed O and the Bayou Bengals. They kick off October against Alabama, and this is going to be a fun game, guys. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. Nick Saban taking on Lane Kiffin. It's always a storyline when Saban faces off against a former assistant. He's never lost to a former assistant. And many believe that Kiffin could be the guy that finally snaps that streak and finally pulls off that win over Saban. But it's not going to be this year. Ole Miss will fall to Alabama. Yes, they get to host this game at home. Yes, they're going to be very battle-tested with very tough opponents. But you look at Ole Miss this year and Alabama this year, an Alabama team that returns Mac Jones at quarterback, Najee Harris at running back, Devontae Smith at wide receiver. The problem for Alabama last year was their defense was so beat up. They allowed 31 points to Ole Miss last year. They dropped 59 on them. Don't expect Ole Miss to put up 31 points again this year. As long as Alabama's defense is healthy, they're going to be back and out for revenge over every team that put up way too many points on them in 2019. I think Lane Kiffin falls to Nick Saban here, but man, the week leading up to this game is going to be so much fun. So don't panic, guys. Look, Ole Miss is 1-4 going into October 10th at Vanderbilt. People are going to be criticizing Lane Kiffin. The Ole Miss faithful are going to be panicking, but you don't need to be, because the schedule gets so much easier after these first 5 games, guys. Look, Auburn, LSU, Alabama, they're the 3 top teams in the West, and they had to play them in 3 consecutive weeks. You just can't help that. It's unfortunate. So they're 1-4 here, but they bounce back with a win over Vanderbilt. No need to discuss that. Ole Miss defeated the Commodores 31-6 last year, had a great game on the ground, and even though Vanderbilt returned so many players defensively, they're no match for this Lane Kiffin offense. So they defeat the Commodores, return home to take on Florida. Ole Miss and Florida having not met since 2015. They have not met in Oxford since 2007. This is a Florida team, guys, that is not only going to be challenging to win the SEC East, but if they in fact do that, could be a college football playoff team, guys. They're that good. You look at their defense. Florida had the 9th ranked defense last year, allowing just 102.8 rushing yards per game, which to me means that Ole Miss is going to have to win this game more through the air. If they want to upset the Gators, they're going to have to win it through the air. And while Elijah Moore and that wide receiver core is pretty dang good for Ole Miss, who's going to throw him the ball? Either Plumlee's going to have to take a major step forward, or it's going to be Matt Corral. I don't think either has enough to get the job done against this very stout Florida secondary. I think Dan Mullen and his squad come in here and get a win in Oxford, the first time they've played here since 2007. And Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin dropped that game, but beat UConn, now a member of the Independents, on October 24th, right before their bye week. So they've got 3 wins and 5 losses going into their final 4 games of the year. They've got to win 3 of the final 4 games of the year if they want to go bowling in year 1 under Lane Kiffin. Coming out of the bye week, they traveled to College Station to take on Texas A&M. They fell to the Aggies 24-17 last year, and a big contributor to that was that 62-yard scoop and score for Texas A&M. They don't get that. Ole Miss maybe pulls off the win because A&M was coming off a loss against Alabama. But this is Jimbo Fisher's best team yet since he arrived in College Station. 16 returning starters: Kellen Mond, Isaiah Spiller, Jamon Osmond, and a defense, especially a linebacking core, that is very, very strong. Texas A&M coming into this game could be a one-loss team, or they could be undefeated. That's how favorable their schedule is this year. And even though Ole Miss is coming off that bye week, I don't like that it's in College Station. I don't like how much experience is coming back for the Aggies, and I think Lane Kiffin's Rebels fall just short. So in another close game, they lose, which means they have to win out, guys. They've got to win out if they want to go bowling in 2020. Road game at Arkansas. 4 of the last 5 games against the Razorbacks have been decided by 4 points or less. Not even a full touchdown, guys. 4 of the last 5 games decided by 4 points or less. Last year, Ole Miss defeated the Razorbacks 31-17 in Oxford. It was an absolutely ugly game. Arkansas's defense was abysmal. Ole Miss's defense really wasn't that good. It was just Arkansas's offense was that bad. Arkansas's offense is certainly going to take a major step forward this year. Felipe Franks, Rakeem Boyd, solid wide receivers across the board. Offensive line should improve. But the problem for Arkansas is their defense. Yes, they bring in Barry Odom as their defensive coordinator, but the Razorbacks have never fared well against dual-threat quarterbacks. And their defense last year was 122nd in the nation when it came to stopping the run. And I don't think the Razorbacks have enough to stop Jerrion Ealy and John Rhys Plumlee. They're not going to know how to handle that. And I think Ole Miss, in a must-win game for them, comes into Fayetteville and pulls off the win over the Razorbacks. I do think they win against Georgia Southern as well. A Georgia Southern team that Ole Miss's defense certainly cannot afford to overlook with that triple option. Very, very dangerous. We've seen Georgia Southern give some elite teams some fights in the past. They were a bowl team last year, falling to Liberty. But I do think Ole Miss is able to get the job done at home, which means the Egg Bowl. How fitting. The Egg Bowl is going to set up of whether or not Ole Miss goes to the postseason or not. Whether Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin get to go to a bowl game for the first time since 2015. And who do they have to face? It's not just Mississippi State. No. It's Mike Leach's Mississippi State team. This is going to be fantastic. Look, Ole Miss and Mississippi State could both be winless coming into this game, and it would be much-watch TV, must-see TV between Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach. Last year, Ole Miss lost to the Bulldogs 21-20 thanks to Elijah Moore's excessive celebration, unsportsmanlike conduct, let's say, at the end of the game. Scored the game-tying touchdown, but that resulted in a penalty, which pushed the game-tying PAT to the 35-yard line, 35-yard PAT, which was missed. Ole Miss lost 21-20, one of the wildest endings of the 2019 college football season. So revenge is certainly on Ole Miss's mind coming into this game. You're going to see 2 great offenses going at it. You've got Lane Kiffin and his offensive mind going up against Mike Leach and that air raid offense. Look, there's going to be no defense in this game. Mississippi State only returns 4 starters defensively. I'm not expecting much out of them. I'm not expecting much out of Ole Miss's defense. So if you like offense, this is the game for you. It's going to come down, really, to quarterback play. Got KJ Costello over for Mississippi State trying to sling it. You got John Rhys Plumlee and Jerrion Ealy. Who gets the win? Lane Kiffin and the Rebels. Lane Kiffin and the Rebels get the job done. For a myriad of reasons. It's a home game. It's a must-win game. It's a revenge game. So many reasons and so many factors that point in Ole Miss's direction here. And I think they have just enough to get over the hump, defeat Mississippi State. They win the Egg Bowl, and in doing so, they clinch bowl eligibility, guys. They clinch bowl eligibility. So look at that. They had 5 losses before their bye week. We are projecting them to have 5 losses before their bye week because the schedule is just that difficult. But Lane Kiffin and the Rebels round out the season with 3 consecutive victories. They are 6-6 and going bowling for the first time since 2015 when they made the Sugar Bowl. This is a major step in the right direction. This, to me, absolutely shows that Lane Kiffin is the right man for the job down at Oxford. And if anything, this is just a sign of things to come. You pull this off in 2020, maybe even better than 6-6, and watch out. Ole Miss is going to become a threat in the SEC West a lot quicker than some expected. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. We've got the Ole Miss Rebels going back to the postseason, 6-6 in 2020. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Make sure to also check out everything down in the description below. Visit our website, thegridironexpert.com. Check us out on social media over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.